Okay. Wow. I hope everybody's ready for class today. Good evening, everybody. It's good to have you all back. Today I'm early. See, told you I'll be on time today. It's good to have everyone back. I hope everybody's has had a wonderful evening. I'll get you set to start another round of class. Let's just call it what it is, another round of class. All right, roll call. Let's see everybody. Good evening, everyone. Come on. Let's see the messages. Good evening, good evening. Hope everybody has had a good day. We're back for another round of teaching. Yeah. Hope everybody's doing good. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. It's good to see everybody. Come on, let's get on. Let's all get in. Let's all get in. Get seated. Get ready. Make sure that everything is set. And we're about to kick off. We'll kick off in 2 or 3 minutes. Let's make sure that everybody is ready to join the class. I can see. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, guys. Good evening. Hope everyone is good. Hope everyone is doing well. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Okay. I can see you guys incoming. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everyone has had a good evening. It's good to see you guys. It's really good to see you guys. Okay, we're about to start. We're about to get ready. So everybody should get seated. Get ready. And once again, hello guys. My name is Oladipo Lawson, and I'll be your tutor for today. And like normal, we can just start with what we've covered. We started this week. We've started with brand voice and messaging. We're talking about developing brand identity, crafting brand messaging, and then consistent brand communication. You missed last week's you missed last week's lectures. You need to go back. You need to make sure you get all the notes and slides from last week's lecture. I hope you're ready for this week, Sha. Hope you did not miss yesterday. Please, if you missed yesterday, you've missed a lot. Let's get ready, guys. Okay, we're about to kick off in a few minutes. So, like I said, we covered brand voice and messaging. It was an introductory class. We talked about what brand voice and messaging was. We talked about the best way to shape your brand voice. We talked about the 4 adjectives to best describe your brand voice, whether your brand is a 3-piece black suit or it was a pink cowboy hat. I gave you guys examples of some of my favorite brands and how their voices have been shaped. We talked about Zikoko Mag a lot towards the end of our lesson. And I have another special brand I'm going to talk to you guys about today, especially with today's class being about brand identity. Again, if you follow from my writing class, I always say it's good to give a piece of yourself. That's the best way to teach. So, like I said, we've covered brand voice and messaging. That's our introduction. So you can understand what it means to create a brand voice, what it means to have a consistent brand voice, what it means to what your brand voice should be, how to shape it, whether that is through your mission, your company's mission or vision. What else was there? Following up with the do's and don'ts, taking in, following up, mixing up your content and seeing what works, that kind of thing. We've gone through a lot. So that's for yesterday's class, brand voice and messaging. Today, we're talking about brand identity. So what are you going to learn today? For day 2, you're going to learn what is brand identity. You're going to learn the difference between a brand. You're going to learn the difference between brand identity, brand image. So it's brand versus brand identity, brand image versus the brand itself, those kinds of things. That's what we're learning today. And then we're learning how to create a brand voice. So at the end of today, you will learn how to build your brand's identity by creating your brand's voice. I hope everybody is ready for today's lesson. It's another power-packed one. And let's just get straight into it. Like I always say, this picture is the best way to keep your headspace. This is the best way to keep your headspace. Just Picture me at the front of the board and you guys taking your class, sitting in at the back. Right. In today's lesson, we'll look at how to develop a brand identity. What are the important features of it? What are the things you're supposed to know? And then we'll look at some very good examples of some brands that I personally like. There's a curveball that I've thrown you guys for today's lesson, but it comes at the end, and I want to make sure that everybody is, really good on this. You're not feeling well. Oh, kindness. Sorry about that. Just, wrap yourself up warm. The weather is changing. It's kind of getting hot, kind of still raining. It's really difficult, So just keep yourself warm. Make sure you get some medication on that. All right, let's begin. So today we're talking about brand identity, and let's talk about what is brand identity. So a company's brand identity is a combination of visual and content choices that represents the company's personality. Remember, yesterday we talked about what your company's personality could be like, and I remember explaining like Zikoko Mag's personality would be, witty, trendy, bubbly, and up to date on all the yeah, sure. We're in Nigeria, and up to date with all of the more recent trends, right? So that's what we talked about. And you know how it is. We have other different brands that have different personalities. We talked about Duolingo. Who remembers Duolingo? Who remembers Duolingo? Who remembers what we talked about Duolingo? I know we said if Duolingo was a person, he'd be Trevor Noah. If he was a car, if he was a vehicle, he'd be a Vespa. And if he was a song, he'd be Don't Stop Me Now. So, we've talked about different personalities now. So now we're talking about how to develop your brand's identity. And a company's brand identity, like I said, is a combination of visual and content choices that represents the company's personality. So think of a brand identity as the clothes that you put on your brand, right? The shoes, what makes your brand your brand. So think of it like in a clothing sense, right? The brand's identity would be the normal clothes he wears, then the accessories, what kinds of rings he wears, what kinds of earrings, what kinds of piercings does he have, what kinds of shades do they wear, what kinds of hats do they wear. So that's your brand identity. It's all the visual and content choices that represents your company's personality. So your brand identity is composed of the visual brand elements you've chosen, like your color palettes, but it also includes your brand's voice, that you successfully created. Your brand's identity will represent and go in line with your brand's values and mission. That seemed like a whole lot of jargon, but let me explain. Your brand identity is composed of the visual brand elements you've chosen, like your color palettes, but it also includes your brand's voice that you've been able to create successfully. Your brand's identity will represent the true combination of your brand's values and mission. Let's continue. We'll go a bit more in depth on that and discuss more. So creating a strong brand identity will help you develop a brand image that's recognizable to your target audience, even if they only see one element of it. So a good way to identify a brand, your brand image, is that it's recognizable to your target audience, even if they just see a small element of it. Once you see a joke from Cracks TV, it's Cracks TV. Hell, using Cracks TV as a very good example of a brand, they were the ones that made memes popular, at least Nigerian memes popular all over the world. And then we've seen like all the different brands that have come from Cracks TV. We've seen like Urban Yoruba. What else is there aside from Cracks TV? There is, somebody give me some good examples of funny sites that popped up after Cracks TV. Let's see who is following. Well, while we're on that, here are some some of what brand identities include. So we have brand visuals, colors, logos, fonts, layouts, and design elements like photography and illustration. Your overall tone, including your slogan or tagline, social media, everything, messaging and copy or website copy. House of Ajebo, that's a good one. Yaba Left, that's a good one. You guys, so all of them sprang up from Cracks TV, really. They saw what Cracks TV was doing, and I won't lie, it's what most likely happened was, somebody um, saw somebody that worked at Cracks TV, right? Pulse TV. You guys are there. So what most likely happened was someone that worked at Cracks TV, maybe their social media guys, he left and he was like, I have all of this knowledge. How do I make use of this knowledge? How do I get the most out of this knowledge? And it's like, well, I'll create my own account. And I'm sure they've spun out a lot of different people. Hell, Cracks TV is not even like the most funny one anymore. Sometimes what will happen is you see, you know what? Actually, I feel like maybe they're all under one umbrella. So there's one company that is managing all of these pages, and it's just one company that is just organizing all of them, because you notice like their content starts to kind of all be the same at some point. I know that's like how social media is, memes, they go through the system and everybody just picks up on them. But I feel like maybe it's one company that is managing all of them. And if it's not one company, then it's most likely somebody that worked there and then just repeats, rinse and repeat. I worked here, let's replicate this here, right? So brand visuals like colors, logos, fonts, layouts, and design elements like photography and illustrations. Those are the kinds of things that will be what your brand identity includes. So you guys should keep this in mind. When you're putting together your brand identity, it's brand visuals like colors, logos, fonts, layouts, design elements like photography and illustration. Remember what I said when I was explaining how to craft your brand voice and keep your brand message consistent. You have to put everything in a document. What your brand is supposed to sound like, look like, act like, everything should be in a document, right? It should be maybe one very large folder or one very large folder that should be in the Google Drive, somewhere that is always safe, right? So like I was saying, all of these should also be in that folder. Brand visuals. When you're creating a brand, I think the best thing to do sometimes is like take it, except you're on a deadline to create a brand. If you're going to create a brand, the best way to do it is like just with your phone. Take it in a very passive manner. When you see things you like, take pictures of it. When you see fonts you like, oh, this might fit for the brand that I'm working to create, take the pictures. If you go through my blog, The Fascinating Ramblings of a Football Fanatic, that's a mouthful anyway, but my blog has its colors, it has the fonts that it uses, it's very detailed, very specific. That's the kind of thing that I like. My design layouts, everything, it has a specific way it's supposed to look. So whenever you're creating that, you have to, put all of those things in a document, put it, if you have it on physical media, maybe in a binder. That's the best way to get the most out of that. Let's move on. So here are the key takeaways for creating a brand identity. Brand identity includes visual design elements plus a brand's voice and tone. Remember we talked about tones, the different kinds of tones in writing. For those of you that might just be, why are we doing brand voice? I'm not still talking about writing. Everything, everything is part of everything and everything falls in everything, right? Okay, so when done correctly, it can represent a brand's ethos, mission, and vision. Ethos is merely some kind of text for like the overall idea or the way the company wants to be seen. That's the kind of thing. Somebody can Google that and make sure that I'm not just, talking bands. But like I said, your brand's identity should resonate with your target market. Your market research is crucial. Remember what I said? As a writer, your second name is researcher. Research. It is very, very, very important. Creating a brand identity builds awareness for your product or service and helps you rise above the competition. A brand identity can shift and change over time, but be mindful about maintaining a positive customer perception, even through rebrands. Your brand must be mindful of maintaining a positive customer perception, even through rebrands. Even if you're going to rebrand, you should not rebrand in such a way that it alienates your customers. Like your customers should not be looking at you and being like, who is this person that we were following? Is not the same person anymore. It's not. Even if you're going through a rebrand, there should still be elements of your previous brand that we can all associate with. We all have to be able to attach ourselves to something. It's like Beyonce. Beyonce has gone through several iterations, right? The Beyonce we see now is not the Beyonce we first saw with Destiny's Child. It's not the Beyonce we saw with all the single ladies, even though that Beyonce came back to do Lemonade, but it was still a different kind of Beyonce. If you guys understand what I'm talking about, I hope I've not lost anybody, especially with Beyonce. I hope I've used Beyonce to reel you guys back in. You know, the same way I talked about how Apple last time has constantly been able to change themselves is the same way Beyonce has also been able to change herself over time. I don't think any brand should remain the same way it is forever. I think it's important to rebrand yourself. The best way sometimes to do that is to, develop yourself, grow with your audience, always conduct market research, always make sure you know what your always make sure that you know what your audience wants. Because you get to a point, especially when you are on social media. I always use social media as an example because it's the most reactive place in the world. Right now, social media is like the best place to, test things out. So if your audience, you get to a certain level on social media that your audience will almost kind of dictate. You see, it's a kind of funny thing, but it's a kind of very funny duopoly as a creator. Whether you're a musician, whether you're a film director, whether you're a writer, whether you write movies, especially for like anybody that creates a lot and has a very strong audience. Your audience gave you your freedom. If you had 1 million people following you, they gave you your freedom to do whatever you liked. And then eventually, the more they grow, the more they begin to want to put you in a box, the more they want you frozen in a specific time period, the more they want you to be in a specific way. So after some time, you lose your freedom. It's very foolish. It's very foolish, but you lose your freedom a little bit, and then you almost kind of have to now give your audience exactly what they want. And for a time that will work. You sell, if you're an artist, you sell a lot of albums, you make a lot of music. But after some time, you will begin to lose your taste and enjoyment for the music. So at that point, you now have to go through a rebrand because elements of yourself have been lost in your audience. Now it just seems like you're going through the motions at that point. So that's where a rebrand comes in. There's several different use cases for a rebrand, and we've just talked about like why artists rebrand themselves. Eventually, they find themselves like just syncing to what the audience wants. And if you keep syncing to what the audience wants, eventually you will lose your creative spark because it will become formulaic, making whatever you're doing, content, music, movies, it will become a formula. A plus B equals C, C plus B equals D, D plus E equals X. That's what happens. And for a time it will work, but then you will just lose your creative spark because you'll be like, I'm not creating anymore, I'm just recycling. That's now when you have to go through a rebrand. So every artist goes through that phase. That's why, there's ups and downs. You peak, then you plateau for a little bit, then you dip because you're going through a rebrand. You want your audience to see you in a different way. So a very good example of this, and I fall fully to this, Khalid. Khalid for me is frozen in time. Like all of his new music doesn't just sit with me. It just doesn't. And I'm one of those fans that have just kept him where he is. Even though he's making like great music that is different from what he was doing before, it doesn't fly with me. But he has managed to rebrand himself and find a new audience. You have to also be willing to accept that some people will leave you behind. Some people will not want to stick with you. There are a lot of people that had iPhones like last year, 2 years ago, they're now using Samsungs and Androids. Some people were using Androids and Samsungs. They moved to Apple. Wizkid's a very good example of that. A lot of people have Wizkid like frozen in time in a certain section, but he has changed up his flow, he's changed up his pattern, he's changed the way he makes music just to keep reaching a wider audience. As a creator, you have to constantly grow. If you stay stuck in one place forever, you crash. So enough with the extra J's. Let's keep talking about brands. So let's talk about brand versus brand identity versus brand image versus the brand again. So brand encompasses everything that defines your company: your color, your palettes, logos, fonts, imagery, voice, tone, mission, goals, personality. It's a whole lot. Social, everything. That's the brand. Brand identity is a little more specific. It's the face of the brand. Visual content and tone choices you make to represent your value, story, and product. So brand identity. Now we're zeroing in. I always love you guys' examples. When you come into the comments and you put very good examples that fit with what I'm talking about, it shows you guys are listening. That's just great. That's the best way to check if people are listening. When you guys are actively engaging without even me. I'm moving on, but you guys are still putting good things there. So kudos to you guys. Like I said, brand identity is the visual. Remember, we talked about brand personality, it being a person. There was somebody here that said they had a faceless brand. I'm like, no, you can't have a faceless brand. Put a face to it. Make sure that your brand is a person, right? Now, when we continue on this, now we've identified like your brand as a person, put a face to it. Now, your brand identity is the visual content. Now, when people see you, most of the time, before they even see your face, they see what you're wearing. So put your brand identity as clothes. Then the little garnishes are the accessories. So what are the clothes for for your brand? It's the identity. That is the visual content and tone choices you make to represent your value, story, and product. You can tell a lot about a person from the clothes they wear, right? I think that's a very good example. You can tell a lot about a person from the clothes they wear. Same way you can tell a lot about a brand from the visual content that they put out. You wouldn't expect who's somebody that shows a lot of skin. Let's say Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj's brand is hyper stylized, hyper sexualized. She shows a lot of skin, That's what her brand is representing. You cannot see Nicki Minaj and say, this one is a Mary Magdalene. No. Even if she's wearing a non-robe or non-uniform, it's not possible. You would know there'd be something about what she's wearing that would just not fit, right? So it's the same way you can look at someone like Taylor Swift. Arya Starr, that's a very good example. She shows a lot of skin. She wears skirts. Let's even leave Nicki Minaj. Let's stick with Arya Starr. Arya Starr's brand is youthful energy, passion, showing off everything that she has for you to see. Nicki's pink hair, that's a good example. But let's stick with Arya Starr. Arya Starr wears skirts that should not be considered as skirts. They should just be considered like loincloth or something. But that works. That's her brand. You can't mistake. Once you see that skirt, remember what we talked about. If you have a brand, once they're able to see a small element of it, that means your brand is working. Once I see that small skirt, I know it's Arya Starr. It's not even small. It's kind of like, let's not go there. But once you see the skirt, you know that's Arya Starr. Yeah, she embodies Gen Z. When you see Ashake, you know that you are getting a mix of African tradition, Yoruba tradition, mixed with street life, mixed with foreign influences. Ashake we know now, like from his last album, is not the Ashake we knew back then, right? So they change. Brand changes, the music changes. Let's keep it like this. Brand identity is the close. The visual content, the visual identity is the visual content that you put out. You guys should really understand this part. Brand identity is what you put out to the world, what you put out on social media, the videos you put out. Let's use Coty, for example. Coty has a very specific brand. It is alternative. She doesn't do all the things that everybody else does. Her videos are not made the same way people make videos. One of our biggest videos was her trying to meet Wizkid, and she didn't even meet Wizkid. But it was shot in an honest way. That's one thing that I'll always like pick out for Corti. And this is this homework for you guys. This is homework for you guys. Think of your favorite brands. You're not supposed to submit anyway, but think of your favorite brands and pick out the 4 adjectives that best represent them, and keep it to yourself, really, but think about it. Like I said, we're going with Corti now. Corti is honest, authentic, deep thoughts. Deep thoughts would not be the best adjective. Introspective, yes, introspective. And what would be the final adjective? Gen Z. So yes, she's honest, authentic, introspective, and did I say Gen Z? Yes, and Gen Z. That is Corti in a nutshell. So think of your favorite brands. So you now know the adjective. So then what would be that kind of content that you put out? When you are building your brand, you have to think about the 4 adjectives. What does my brand say? And then what would be the content that relates to that? Right? You don't just, come up with it out of the blue. That's why brainstorming sessions are very useful. Your mind gets going and you're able to create ideas. So if we know that Corti is honest, authentic, introspective, and Gen Z, then the videos that she puts out that can be sometimes very strange, that can deal with dating, can deal with, introspection between different groups of people talking, it fits. It really does fit, doesn't it? Okay, so we have more things to talk about. Every bit of copy that your brand produces, whether it's an About Us page on your website or the game on the back of a cereal box, should exude your brand's distinct voice. Put some thoughts. See, we're back on our 4 adjectives. I don't think this is meant to be here, but it's an important internal function. That's a well-defined brand voice establishes a cohesive set of guidelines that writers and marketers and content writers, everybody uses. Let's keep moving. Now, let's talk about brand image. Brand image focuses on the visual side of your brand, including colors. So there's a distinction. Let's follow. There's a distinction. Your brand identity is all the visual contents that you put out that everybody can see. It's your clothes. Your brand image now focuses on the visual side of a brand, including, so we're going deeper into the visual side for brand image. It focuses on colors, fonts, logos, but also brand photography, videography, and the look and feel of all the types of communication. So your brand image, right? If you have your brand identity is the clothes, right? Your brand logo, your brand image should be the little garnishes on top. So the rings, you just, oh God. Anyhow, right. I lost my train of thought. Your brand image should focus on the visual side of your brand, including colors, fonts, logos. I've said this a million times, but think of it like the accessories on your clothes. We know that the visual content is this. We've seen the clothes, right? But then the little details that personalize it, this is the brand image. Your logos, like your fonts. For those of you that know, your logo is supposed to be, we'll talk about logo, but your logo is supposed to be the easiest way that people can identify you without having to describe you, without having to say your name. If I can't remember your name, but I see your logo anyway, I know it's you. Nike, Adidas, Puma, Gucci, Fendi, we all know what the logo is, and we know that this is this. You don't have to tell us. And branding. Now, branding is a verb that describes the process of creating a brand and implementing a brand strategy to run campaigns, increase awareness, and grow the business. So branding, brand image, you can't jumble it up. I hope I'm not confusing anybody. Already 30 minutes in, and I need to make sure that I've not lost you guys. Does everybody understand branding? Branding is the active choice that you make, the active choices you make with the content you are putting out? Are we trying to run a campaign to tell a story? Are we trying to increase awareness? Are we trying to grow the business? That's branding. Then all the other things are stitched together by branding. Wherever I lost you, pen it down. I don't want to go back for the sake of, continuity and fluidity. If I have lost you, pen where I lost you. Just start noting down questions so that when we get to question and answer section, I will just give you what you need, right? Okay, let's talk about examples of companies with a strong brand identity. A strong brand identity helps you stand out from the competitors, builds your brand on social media, attract your target audience, and ultimately grow your business. Here are some companies with memorable, recognizable, and delightful brand identities. So let's talk about Fenty Beauty. Now, we're not talking about Rihanna specifically, but we're talking about her line of makeup line. Fenty Beauty line is known for its high quality formulations, unique, shiny, and glamorous packaging, and extremely inclusive shade range. Rihanna is a dark-skinned woman. That is a fact. She is not going to make her shade line just for her, because we know that dark skin comes in different colors. It comes in different colors. There are people that are extremely light, there are people that are extremely dark, and then there's everybody in between. So she has to have an inclusive shade range. That is the products. If you can't hear me, maybe that is your mic or speakers. It's most likely your network. Let me explain again. Rihanna's beauty line is known for its high quality formulations, unique, shiny, and glamorous packaging. That's Rihanna. Before we move to inclusivity of shades, Rihanna, anytime you look at Rihanna, you are thinking glamorous, you are thinking unique, you are thinking shiny. Those things, she built her brands off of her own identity. That's why I told you guys, when you're building a brand, start with yourself first. If it's a brand that you hold close, it's a brand that you want to, control, start with your own identity and build from there. Rihanna's Fenty Beauty is starting from her own identity, right? It has a very wide range, wide shade range for different shades of different colors of people, fun colors that encourage experimentation, and mid-range prices that make her products feel like a treat. It's not very expensive because she knows where she's coming from and what she had to do to look beautiful before she got all the money. So it's not the most expensive, right? It's all about your mission, your vision, your brand identity also has a way of affecting your price. That I gave the example of Gucci. Gucci is high fashion. YSL, high fashion. Their prices are not going to come down for everybody, except they are now, again, like I said, you can do different brands for different segments of the market. I know there are Gucci shirts, Gucci shoes that are not for the lower sections, but for like the middle class, just so that the middle class can get a taste. But you know that this one was not the high class Gucci. Like if you see a Gucci shirt with all of Gucci's branding all over it, it could be originally made by Gucci, but they've segmented their market so they can just make more money. Money is very important, right? That's why you segment your brand so that everybody has a taste, even though it's not really, what you want, but you have to give everybody something so that your brand can, survive. Can't keep making money off of just the wealthy elites that sometimes won't buy your brand. So look at ideas from Fenty's design. Look at her makeup line. Look at the ideas. Look at the logo. Look at the way it is designed. Remember, we're talking about a design. This is kind of like a design class, isn't it? We're talking about building a brand and building brand identity. So makeup is there for you to play with. It's there for you to have fun with. It should never feel like pressure, and it should never feel like a uniform, right? About made Gucci. Yeah, you guys are funny too. But look at it. This is what I'm talking about. It's made by Rihanna, and look at the logo. Look at the way it's put together. You can Immediately identify, even though that the name is the biggest part of it. Once you hear Fenty, you know it's Rihanna. But look at this. This is a really great design. Look at the makeup, like a type of makeup. It's in a very, very beautiful case. It's glamorous. When you take it out of the box, you know, oh, this is Rihanna, right? Yeah. Look at the logo design in the middle of the spot where I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to try and do that, but look at it, right? There's the logo right there. Branding. Everything is important. Everything is tied to everything. Let's look at another good example. This is my favorite one. Burna Boy. So when you're talking about brand identity, if you're able to identify with Burna Boy, for those of us that like it, I like Burna Boy a lot. So being uniquely African is what I tie to Burna Boy. When writing this section, there were a lot of international brands to choose from, and that is apparent. But when you want to teach, sometimes it's best to bring things much closer to home. So when discussing Burna Boy, it's easy to say he has this larger than life attitude, an inflated ego. That's his brand. And when that's true, that's only scratching the surface. That's only scratching the surface of Burna Boy's identity, as I had initially stated, is uniquely African. You can't tell me that, especially, maybe I should have changed that to uniquely Nigerian, right? But you can't tell me that Burna Boy's identity isn't something we see in ourselves a lot. You can't tell me that you've not met a Yoruba person that does not have an over-exaggerated ego, that doesn't have a larger-than-life attitude. You meet a classic Yoruba person, you will know they are loud, they are braggadocious, they have a lot of bravado. That is their nature. So he's just portraying who he is to a very high degree. Now, Burna Boy takes elements of his heritage, background, upbringing, and personal style to create a uniquely, and I use African because sometimes, you want to broaden it, but it is, again, a uniquely Nigerian experience that can't be copy-pasted anywhere. You're Yoruba and you're not braggadocious. Okay, I see you. That statement alone is like, somebody that is not braggadocious wouldn't even, put it out there. They'll just be quiet because, hey, that's not me. But you're already coming at it. So Burna Boy's brand can't just be copy-pasted anywhere. If anybody tries to do some of the crazy things Burna Boy does, they just ship them out. And we saw that with Asake. Asake tried it a little bit, but he found out that this is the way Burna Boy is, and that's not authentic to me. So you can see Burna Boy does like some crazy stuff on Twitter. Everybody will get on his back. He doesn't care. You tell you, I'm African giant. Whatever you people are saying is just off my back. But Asake can't do that because, his music is very authentic. Burna Boy has already crashed through the stratosphere. So he's not really caring about what you people think. Asake is getting there, but he's not yet there. So he still has to meld in a way that will work for Nigerians. That's kind of what works for him. Again, remember what I talked about when you are building a brand identity. Authenticity has to be there because, like I said, you're building your brand through yourself. Everything I've described about Burna Boy is how he is in real life. That's exactly how he is. If you've met him, I have not had the pleasure of meeting him, but I know a couple of people that have met him and have, like, they've told, when they tell you, you can't believe everything everybody says, but when they tell you, like, that's how Burna Boy is. He has pride. He's very bold. He says what he thinks. That's Burna Boy. And if you've watched interviews of Burna Boy, this is a good segue. Anyway, you guys should watch a lot of interviews of your favorite artists, promoters, whoever they are. Watch their interviews. It's something, especially like Nigerians abroad. When you're watching abroad artists do interviews, foreign artists, foreign movie stars do interviews, they are very managed. They tell them the questions ahead of time. They prepare them well. But if you're watching an interview in Nigeria, like if you watch the Honest Bunch podcast, I think I misinterpreted their name, but the Honest Whatever podcast, when they come onto that show, you know that they're unfiltered. You can get a good read for your artist and who they are. That's where you get the best out of them. So you can mirror your brand by watching interviews and figuring out how they talk, how they walk. It's very important, especially for those of us that are building our own brands. Authenticity is not about how it is to everybody else. It's about how it is to you. So if you are being authentic, you must be true to yourself. You can't hide your nature. That's one thing I know. You can't really hide your nature, to be honest. So if you are loud, proud, and braggadocious, and you have a lot of energy, don't hide it, especially when you're coming out to the brand. If you want to hide it, use gospel artists. For those of, I'm sorry, I am not very in tune with the gospel scene. You people forgive me. I listen to gospel music, I do, but I'm not very in tune with that. So again, authenticity to me. If I came at you guys now with the gospel angle, I wouldn't really teach it the way, it wouldn't be an honest way to teach, because that's not really how I am. Right. Okay, so let's continue. We're going through Burna Boy, and I'm explaining. This is the best way to explain something, with something that we can all see and understand, right? So again, looking at Burna Boy's identity. Some of these pictures I picked on purpose because you look at Burna Boy, you know it's Burna Boy. When you see him, when you hear him, being an artist, you have that kind of advantage because people are very attuned to your music, but you know it's Burna Boy. Once you start hearing those melodies before the song, when you see him on stage, for those of us that have had the pleasure to see Burna Boy on stage, oh my God, it is a really great performance. For those of us, again, I'm sorry for those of us that are not in tune with the scene that I'm portraying. Sorry. Burna Boy is a very good way to generalize for everybody to understand, right? There's an energy, there's a presence. So when you're building a personal brand, I picked Burna Boy because I am a huge fan of him, and I'd like to also it's a good way to explain for you guys. I've said a lot. I hope you guys are following, because you're already understanding what I'm talking about with Burna Boy. But just for clarity's sake, I hope everybody is following along, right? I picked Burna Boy because I wanted you guys to be able to identify the personal brand, because this is a branding class. And if you can't come up with your own personal brand after this class, after this week, there might be more classes that will sprinkle branding on, but this is it. You have to also be able to, create your own brand. I'm telling you guys now, go on social media, create your own brand. It's very important. Apply everything you learn here. I'm going to even apply what I'm learning. You never stop learning, but I'm going to apply a lot of these things, and I hope you guys are, because you are building your personal brand. At the beginning of this class, I remember telling you, wherever you go, your brand is what goes in front of you. Your brand is what you tell people about, right? So create your own brand. From wherever you are, start trying to develop your own brand so that everybody can know who you are. If you ask a good bunch of my friends or people that have met me, they'll be able to explain how I act and who I am, right? So you don't necessarily, your personal brand has to come out as who you are, right? But your personal brand also has to go out into a way that your personal brand has to go out in a way that is honest to you, but can be modified for different mediums, right? So if you're a funny person, then you should be doing funny things, right? It's that kind of thing. Let's continue. I think I'm already losing it, and I don't want to lose it too much. Let's continue. There's something always awe-inspiring about being in the presence of someone with so much bravado and pride that you think they might truly be gods. Funnily enough, they might have the accounts to back it up. Burna Boy is truly Afrocentric, and that is not only shown in his music, but it's also in the way he talks, he walks, he dresses. Even when there are foreign influences, even when Burna Boy is dressed by foreign designers, there's always something African about him. Whether it's his big chains on his neck with the fella attached to it, or the way he puts the clothes together, the way he puts his pieces, the way he picks his colors, it's Burna Boy. Now, everything screams excellence and a willingness to push boundaries and sometimes even push his audience. And for better or worse, it has worked for him, or at least it started working for him from 2015 to 2016. Let's go back. There was something I said about pushing boundaries, right? and I picked this his black suit on purpose. This suit should not work, but because it's Burna Boy, it works. Look at it. It looks like it's torn to pieces. Any other person you saw wearing this, you think maybe the guy don't mad. But look at it on Burna Boy. It works. Now, before Burna Boy became the African giant, he was just another well-known musician who had some fame and knew how to make good music. And while he had a lot of fans that could identify with that, it wasn't until he finally showed his true self and started putting more of him in his music that he could truly become the artist we know now. There are a good number of you here that might be musicians as well, writers and musicians. There's always an overlap there. I think the best thing you can do for yourself as an artist is put your true self in your music. If you are a crazy person and your music, you're trying to calm it down, you're trying to make calm R&B, it will not work. Your craze will clash with the calm, and they'll be like, what kind of music is this person making? If your personality is calm and slow, sheltered, you can make calm music. If you start trying to do akpala and street music, it won't work. But there's a way to do street music in a calm way. If you look at someone like Bella Shmurda, some of Bella Shmurda's best songs are done in a calm, but they're still street because he's talking about honest street things and he's honest to himself, right? Now, put yourself in whatever you're doing. This doesn't just apply to artists, also applies to we as writers. Put yourself there. Make sure that your own identity passes through what you're writing. Now, we've been speaking about brand identity for a while now, but we've only spoken about it from a static point, not being able to identify that most of the biggest brands aren't static, and most of the biggest brands aren't static and non-living. They aren't static and non-living. Most of the biggest brands that we know aren't static and non-living. So instead of looking at Apple and Nike, let's dissect the branding of living, breathing people, because the only way you can bring life to a dying brand is by looking at a living one and understanding why it changes and what makes every personal brand unique. There's going to be a focus on the personal, but we'll still take some of the static big brands like Apple and Nike that never fail, because it's important to look at the bigger brands. But we also have to understand that brands can change. Apple wouldn't be the way it is. Apple wouldn't change so much if we did not know that, it could, if they didn't follow the personal journeys of individuals. The best way, again, to look at individual journeys is to watch people. Watch personal brands. People's brand changes. People's brands change over time. I've given you an example. Beyonce. Burna Boy is a good example. Right up till 2015. For those of us asking for attendance, wait, we'll go on a break. Attendance will come up. For those of us that are, our favorite artists, they always go through reinterpretations, reiterations. It's a natural fact of life. Your brand has to change. So when you apply that to a static, non-living brand, you figure out that you have to be able to breathe life into that brand by, making changes where necessary. You can't stay the same. It doesn't work like that. After some time, you have to change. That is why I said you need to look at living, breathing brands to understand why they change. And I think that is where we're going to put a pause. I will go back for those of us that I lost you along the way, but we've made good time and we have digested what it means to create a brand identity. We're going to go on a break by 8 o'clock, but for the last 10 minutes, I want to talk about my favorite brand. Again, like I said, it's Burna Boy, but we can dissect our favorite brands by going back through the years with them. That's the best way. Again, like I said, I'm sticking on making changes now because I don't want you guys to get stuck in the mindset that a brand is stuck to being the way it is. No brand is the way it is forever. After some time, there has to be a change to it. There has to be a change to it. Whether we like it or not, brands change, people change. It takes time, but there has to be a change. So let's go through what we've learned so far. Let's start off with some of our key takeaways. Remember, creating a strong brand identity will help your brand image, will develop a brand image that's recognizable to your target audience, even if they only see one small element of it. Sticking to this strong brand identity, right? Remember I said brand identity is like clothes, and this was what I meant with Arya Star's baggy micro skirts. Even it can't be a mini, it's a, I don't know how to, what else to use it, but that skirt is recognizable. She doesn't perform without it. She might go out and wear some other things, but when she's on stage, the real Arya Star comes out. And once we see that skirt, we know it's her. I can be looking down and going up, and I've seen the skirt. I know who it is. You don't have to tell me. And nobody else copies her. Nobody else would even dare wear it. Even people that make similar music to her, nobody else would wear it. Same with Simi. Simi has this down to earth style, so she's not going to wear that kind of a skirt, except she's maybe messing around, having fun, playing around. But when she's performing, she's not going to wear that because that's not what her brand is selling. You have to be able to differentiate between your brands. Differentiate, identify what separates one brand from the other. Take similar brands, right, that play in similar markets, and figure out what differentiates them from the other. What differentiates Nike from Adidas? Nike will tell you the keyword there, just do it. That just do it campaign was what made Nike, made Nike really big. Nike became just do it. They encouraged all of their people to go out, explore, do crazy things just for the fact of just do it. So you have to. Now, when we're talking about brand visuals, okay, let me close that out. Then we Adidas. What separates Adidas from Nike? Adidas don't really keep the slogans. What Adidas does is consistency. So they have the brands, the people that follow along with Adidas. If we're talking about sports, people in sports, there's a continuity. Adidas and Messi. Messi don't change. Messi is Messi. Messi will always be Messi, right? But with Nike, just do it. It's Ronaldo. Ronaldo will go anywhere, do anything he wants because he reigns supreme. Messi is calm. Messi is the embodiment of Adidas. Adidas is continuity. Adidas follows with consistency. Nike is bold and out there, right? And that's why their best people that they sign under them are always out there people. They are always bold, outspoken people. Serena Williams. Was Serena Williams? The Williams sisters under Nike. Christ, I can't remember. But I think they were under Adidas. Fuck, I've forgotten. That doesn't help me. That doesn't help my explanation if they are not. There was this, for those of us that might not pay attention, but there was this American football player that was taking the knee during when they were playing the national anthem. For those of us that used to follow the international circuit, right? He was an American footballer and he took the knee while they were playing the national anthem. And his club fired him. They tore his contract up. He was under Nike. And that was when the Just Do It campaign really started to take off. He became the face of it because they were like, this guy got sacked by his own club because he was taking a stand against racism, right? By taking a knee, he was saying, this country that I support, this country I am from, is a racist country, and I don't believe in some of the things he talks about. He took a knee. Nike backed him all the way, and they created campaigns around him because Nike is vocal, Nike is bold. Just do it. That would have been what was in his head when he was about to take the knee. Just do it. Do you get what I'm saying? I hope you guys are understanding because I'm trying to be able to segment every part because branding is a very overlap. There's a lot of overlap. And if you're not able to differentiate between each part of it, you won't be able to walk into a room, in a big board meeting and tell a company, yo, this your brand image doesn't fit your brand identity. And they'll be like, well, we thought brand image and brand identity were the same thing. And you're like, no, it's not. Your brand identity is the visual content that you put out there, and your brand image is is what the content is made up of. You can't say your brand identity fits to be, visual content, and we take edgy pictures, right? Your brand identity can't be edgy. We do crazy shit, and then your images that tie along with that and your videos that go along with that are safe. Do you get what I'm saying? If your identity is taking risks, then you should be rock climbing. It's like this. If anybody has followed all of these people that like are forex traders, and they say, on social media, they're like, I take a lot of big risks. You need to take risk with me. Take risks, make money, blah, blah, blah. If you go through their social media, you find them that they do a lot of crazy stunts because they want to show that it's a natural part of them to take risks. So they'll climb mountains, they'll go surfing, they'll do dangerous things just to show you that they take risks, right? Just so that you can believe it, even though true to their fact, some of them just steal your money and run away, right? Again, I think I've dwelled on this part a lot, but I just want to make sure you guys understand, right? Key takeaways: brand identity includes visual design elements plus a brand's voice and tone. So understand that the visual elements you put together have to meld with the brand's voice and tone. That's why I taught you guys about a brand voice and the brand personality. Then we put the clothes or the personality as our visual elements, what they can see from us before they get to know us, right? Brand identity should resonate with your target market. It should. Sticking with Arya Star, she's Gen Z. She wants Gen Z bodies to behave like her, to do things like her. Why? Because that's where her audience is. The moment she starts singing music for 30 something, 40 something year old, 50 something year old people, she will lose her audience because she will alienate everybody. You can't serve everybody as a brand, no matter how you try. You can try and make segments of your brand for everybody, but you have to stick to one brand, right? You have to stick to it and make sure that your audience doesn't get alienated. And by alienating your audience, I mean pushing them away, essentially. If you change the way your brand is too quickly, you push your audience away because they will not have anything they are able to identify with. So I've done a good quick recap for those of you. I hope I have been able to, those of you that were lost, I hope I've found a way to bring you guys back in. We're going on a break now. And in a few minutes time, you guys can, attendance will be sent out. I hope you guys have done your assignments for Canvas. More assignments are going to come from Mr. Sebastian if they haven't dropped already. Remember, we've talked about signing up to Canvas. I hope all of you are signed up to Canvas. But remember, assignments and take attendance. Attendance is very important, right? Take attendance. And yeah, that's the most important part. We're going on a break now. Everybody, rest, decompress, relax. We're coming back. Like I said, I hope everybody is following. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm talking about. If you are still lost, just note down where I lost you. Take the notes. Question and answer section will be back, right? All right. We're going on a break now. Let's everybody just, decompress. I know. And let's go. Wonderful. And we are back. Let's make sure that the PRB logo goes off. All right, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody has taken their attendance. It's important. Please take your attendance. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody is doing good. I saw something in the chat that I'd like to quickly address for everybody that is in this class. Please, let's not compare tutors. I hope we don't do this in Mr. Sebastian's class. There's no justification for comparing tutors. Every tutor has their teaching style. This is the way I teach, and Mr. Sebastian has the way he teaches. I hope we all take Mr. Sebastian's class with the same level of seriousness that we do with mine, because it's important that we pay attention to his classes as well. I'm not covering everything. I cannot physically cover all of the classes. I wouldn't have a life to do anything else. Mr. Sebastian is a very important tutor for you guys, and he's also teaching. You won't get the most out of this class if you did not focus on what Mr. Sebastian is teaching. So please, let's not compare tutors. There's no need for comparison. Everybody has their teaching style. Are we understanding? Please. I hope we're all good. Okay, before we begin, I hope everybody has taken their attendance down. I hope you guys are taking attendance. You can still use the next 30 seconds to keep taking attendance before we really start coming into class, right? I hope the link is working. Check the video description. Make sure that you all take attendance. Attendance is very important because we want to know how many people are interacting with our classes, how many people are taking our classes, right? Are we on the same page, right? Okay. We've used our 30 seconds, so let's get into the second half of class before we get to question and answer section. I hope I've done justice to, creating a brand identity, developing a brand identity. I hope everybody understands what I meant by brand identity, right? Can't have the, let me not say that one now. Anyway, I hope if you are lost, just start noting down your questions so that we'll answer them in the question and answer section, right? That's my motto. If you're lost, just note down where I lost you. I'll come back and I'll explain. Also, for those of us that I lost, for those of you that I lost along the way, that's why at the end of my first half of the section, I go back and I explain everything again, or I explain parts of it that might have seemed confusing. All right, let's get into the next section. I hope everybody's following along. I hope everybody's ready. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're now going to be talking about how to build a brand identity. Here, I'll be showing you some of the best ways to build a brand. This is the most important section here. Other parts are important, but this part is very important. I'm teaching you how to build a brand, how to construct it, and make it look nice. Okay, let's get into it. Now, building an effective brand identity that really connects with your audience requires a deep understanding of who you are. Okay, requires a deep understanding of who they are, what they want, and what piques their interest. Your brand must also fit with your audience. For those of us that are following this class, we've talked about your audience. Your audience is very important. Hell, I think I spent 5 minutes talking about how, as a creative, you lose a bit of your freedom to your audience because that's what your audience wants. Your audience is very important because you wouldn't be there without them. So analyze your audience in depth and learn about their challenges. Brand identity design starts with a thorough audience analysis and requires a brand identity specialist. It's all fancy term, but all I'm saying is you need to be a researcher. I don't know how many times somebody should be counting this thing, how many times I say this thing, because I don't think there's a class that I don't go through. But I say, as a writer, your second name must be researcher. You must know what your audience wants. You must go and look at the where you want to play, where you want to go, and see your audience in them and be like, all right, I can see my audience. This is what my audience wants, right? Now, asking a designer to make you a logo when you don't have a clear picture of who you're trying to teach, who you're trying to reach, is like promoting an ad to an audience of everyone on the internet. You'll be lucky if it sticks with someone and waste tons of time and resources along the way. 215 now. Funny. Victory. Yeah, funny. I'll give you that. Joy. Wait. Wait. No. Joy, don't be. She's joking. For those of us that saw the 215, she's joking. Except the Victory. Victory, can you provide? Maybe you've been writing it down. All right. Okay. Like I said, you have to analyze your audience, right? For those of us still having issues with attendance, we will take attendance again at the end of the class. So let's get back to focusing on what is going on, right? Now, you must understand what your audience wants. Analyze your audience. If you're about to enter a market, you must do market research. You must know the prices of whatever it is that everyone else is selling and attach your prices similarly. Because if you go too low, think about it like this when you're doing audience research. It's still market research, right? But let's just use prices as a good example. If you are going to put your prices at a certain level, if you want to really meet a certain expectation at a certain level for people, you have to match the prices of wherever your competition is at. If you want to play in this arena, you want to play on this team, you have to match. If you want to bamba, if you want to chill with the big boys, you have to do like the big boys. You can't say, I want to put a high class restaurant where the food is the greatest and the ambience is the best, and then you're selling your food for 3K. Nobody is going to come because they'll be like, there's a mismatch somewhere. The brands don't align. So you can't say, it's the same thing I said with Gucci, right? High class fashion, high prices. You can't come and start undercutting yourself by saying, oh, I'm not going to be very expensive. If you want to undercut competition, sure, you might want to come down a little bit, but you can't go down too low. If not, you lose the market you want and you get an entirely different market that doesn't like to pay for what they ate, and they will be jumping the bill. People that, if your market is people with no pride, that's fine. But if you are a high-class restaurant and you are marketing to people with no pride, my G, you will lose money because everybody will run out on the bill, right? So I guess you guys are understanding. Analyze your market. Know what they want. You can't be, I think I've used this example before. You can't be talking about tech and then be making a lot of jokes. Even Kagan Tech, right? He talks about tech. He makes jokes, but he doesn't. The jokes are not the whole element of his stick. He has jokes to wrap your attention. Then he provides very important information. It is like that. Know your audience. Now, look at the demographic profile, pain points, challenges of your performing customers, and most engaged audience members. Talk to sales reps, customer support specialists to find out in their own words what people are struggling with and how you can help them. The more you've already posted online and communicated with customers and prospects, the more data you have to analyze. This is where, if we go back, yesterday's class, I remember telling you guys, post a bunch of shit and then see which one everybody likes, right? Throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. The one that sticks is the one you have to do. This is what. Wow, that was very strange. What just happened? I guess it's network. I hope you guys did not just immediately disappear as me too I disappeared. Oh no, this is the wrong slides. This is not the right one. Wait, give me a minute. We experience what we call in Nigeria something going wrong. Something just something just happened. I'm trying to find the right presentation again. Let me see. Is this the correct one? Is this the correct one? Is this day two? No, I think I've done the same. I've done the same with. Sorry, guys. This is just embarrassing at this point. What just happened? We are about to start talking about Burna Boy anyway. So, yes, I think this is the correct one. What's that? Hey, I hope everybody's still along with me. Oh. I hope we didn't all just disappear. Sorry. Sorry, I kind of just had to dip out. Yeah, this should be right. Yes. Sorry. Can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, it was network. Burna Boy ambassador. See your mouths. Let's move quickly. Let's move quickly. Let's get back to where we were. Okay. So, in the case of Burna Boy, there's always a large swell of love that comes from social media. There's also that his team can analyze to see what works, while only on Twitter or X, that you can hear that the team can hear what people really think about him when he's off on his rants, insulting anyone who engages with him. Burna Boy has a very strong voice on Twitter, but he's always looking for fights. But the fight has a reason. His team uses that data. Today is Burna Boy's day. Yes, today is Burna Boy's day. That's how this class went. But is the way his team has a way that they work with the information that comes from X. He will go on his rants, he will fight with everybody, his team will assess it and find out what people are really talking about him. Is he over prideful? Is he insane? Blah, 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 blah. They use that to compare with the love that he gets on places like Instagram and TikTok. And then he stitches everything together to keep the image consistent. You need because like that. Oh God, you guys are funny. You need add me to his management team after this class. Everybody that knows Burna Boy, see, talk to his mom. His mom is his manager. Anybody that knows his mom can message me. I can curate Burna Boy's brand for him. Don't worry. But let's leave the fun for it. We're talking about how his team makes use of social media. You need data. So when you've posted a lot, you can see where the good and the bad is, right? When you have the bad, you can now compare it to the good and then figure out where there's overlap between them. You're like, okay, this guy, he's really good at this, he's really good at that. People love his sound, people love his music, people love his dressing, but they hate the way he talks, right? There's conflict there that comes with him from Burna Boy, but it's very useful. I don't know how to explain it here in a way that you people will fully understand it, but there's a method to the madness. But it only works for a select few artists. It's not everybody that wants to, fight with everybody. Wizkid will seldom ever engage with anybody on Twitter. Every once in a while, he tells somebody your papa and move on. But very rarely do you see Wizkid like engage with anybody on social media. He'll tell you new music is coming out. He'll tell you how his day is going, and that is gone. That's it. Right? So let's continue. Number 2 points to creating a brand identity, how to develop and create your brand identity, right? Develop the key elements of your brand that speak to your audience. Most great brands with a possibly messy mood board, and most great brands start with a possibly messy mood board. For anybody that doesn't know what a mood board is, remember when I was telling you to passively create a brand where you just take random pictures of things you like, you see a font you like, Well, that's what a mood board kind of is. You stitch things together, you put them on it. It looks chaotic at first, but that's your brand. That is a mood board kind of is like your brand that you are creating. So some brands like UPS, T-Mobile, and Tiffany have even trademarked their brand colors. This is a very good one. What was an example of a brand? Apart from, there's a very famous brand that created their own yellow. Freak. Is it the M&Ms? Like the M&M shades of color. There's a company that makes like different shades just for brands, but your colors are very powerful, right? And let's talk about brand colors at this point. Now, colors are powerful and can communicate your brand's personality at first glance. When choosing your brand colors, think about how they reflect your identity and speak to your target audience. Now, to choose a color palette that will help you create a memorable brand, look at existing color schemes in your space. Ask your audience and learn what feelings certain colors evoke. We know, for those of us that have watched Inside Out, this is a very good example of Inside Out is a very Pinterest. Yes, Pinterest is a good example of what do you call it? Mood boards. You can go on Pinterest and look at different mood boards to get what you're looking for. The powerful woman, yeah, very powerful. Yeah. So let's stick to what we were talking about with colors. Now, if anybody has seen Inside Out, we know how the colors represent the different shades of emotions. Green is for envy. That's why they say you're green with envy. Red is for hot temper. That's why red is such a bold color. A lot of people use red because it's one of the best colors, to be honest, to use. But red is for angry. Blue is for sadness. Yellow or gold is for joy. Then if you've watched Inside Out 2, you know that what's this person? Orange is for anxiety. Purple is for indifference, and like different shit. That's kind of what it is. That's kind of where we get colors from. So colors invoke different emotions, right? So pink is for up tempo, bubbly, right? Yeah, Inside Out the cartoon. See, anytime I'm teaching, I carry a lot of things from a lot of different places to best explain what and why they are the way they are. Now, here are the various type of brand colors you need to choose. Your primary palettes. Orange, vibrancy, pink, awkwardness. You guys can mention as many of them as you like. You won't. Purple, royalty. Yeah, that's my mom's favorite color, purple. She loves purple because it says royalty. So let's talk about primary palettes. Now, your primary palette is the color you will use the most, that will express the primary voice of your brand. Then the secondary palette, that's the color you use the least for the background, supplementary, colors in data visualization or marketing materials. So if your main brand color, techno with blue, I noticed a lot of you were putting out colors like was GT orange, what else is a good MTN yellow. I think MTN have created their own shade of yellow, and then they use yellow and blue. You can have more than one primary color, but you can't have too many. Let's think of another brand. Coke, the drink is black, but the brand is red. Then the secondary color is white, right? The white trim on the inside. Infinix is green, Glow is green, Oraimo is green and black, right? So you see where the brand switch up. Oraimo is green and black. The packaging, green is the main color, black is the secondary color. In this case, paracetamol is blue. Pharmaceuticals in general use blue and white. White is a general for cleanliness, so you have hospitals with white. Gold is also good for royalty. So you see champagne is gold most of the time. The bottling, the covering for it is usually gold and black because they want to speak excellence. Do you get? Gold is for excellence, black is for understated confidence, that kind of thing. So Indomie, yellow and red for the so I think we figured this one out, right? We figured out colors, text colors, background colors, accessible color combinations. We've talked about accessible color combinations: black and green, black and yellow. Brand fonts. Just like many brands have extremely memorable colors, there are signature brand fonts like Chobani. After their launch, fonts like this seem to show up everywhere, from wedding invitations to startup brands to books to website headers. You guys can go and check that one out. Chobani. Google it. If I'm right, I might have not done my research properly. But that's it. Brand fonts. Brand fonts are very important. The New York Times has a very straightforward brand font. I think it's Times New Roman or whatever it used to be or whatever it is. It's very straight to the point. It's very organized because the New York Times, they want to be organized. They want to show that they have a level of control and confidence. We've already gone into 30 minutes, but let's keep going. Brand logo. Brand logo is one of the most challenging but important parts of your brand. How can you convey your brand's missions, values, and personality in a single logo or word mark? Conduct a competitive analysis of top brands in your industry to see which brands stand out and why they use these logos, these logo design tips to make sure you put in the effort where it counts. When we're talking about brand logos, now I'm going to tell you something that is unconventional. A lot of the best brand logos sometimes happen by accident. Nike, very good example. Tick. That doesn't just, you don't think of that. You don't sit down in a room with 100 people to think about the tick. That just comes out of a happy accident. Adidas, that was workshopped. That was where people figuring out, how best to put things in perspective. And Adidas used to be a flower. The Adidas we know now took a little bit of a rebrand, because Adidas now we know is like 3 lines, but Adidas, the original Adidas logo was like a flower or a leaf with 3 lines cut across it, and those 3 lines meant the 3 brothers who started Adidas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 3 brothers that started Adidas in Germany. So the 3 lines were there to represent the 3 brothers or the 3 families. Brothers or families, one of the two. So conduct an analysis. Look at your logos. Figure out what works best for you. Sometimes your logo is as good as just like the first letter of your logo, like the first letter of your company, right? If your company's name is BMW, BMW first started with B, M, and W, then they put the logo with the blue, the white, the black. It works like that. Really, like WhatsApp now, it's a call symbol, right? Because you get to interact, you get to chat with your friends. Let's think of a few more brand logos before we move on, because there's still quite a bit to do. What else can we think about for brand logos? Airtel, you see, that is something that did not really take a lot of it takes a lot to come up with a brand logo sometimes, but sometimes you're just as simple as being with Glow. Glow is just GLO. It speaks for itself. X is not a very good brand name. I wish they would go back to Twitter, but Elon Musk and his X, whatever it is, the bird on Twitter before Elon ruined it. Yes, Elon ruined Twitter. We all know that. Like, I don't even know why. Why he did that. He has his X brand. He has what was that? SpaceX. He owns X. If he could change Tesla's name to Tesla X, he would. I'm sure one of the cars they're going to come up with eventually will be like the X Model X or whatever, but that's not really good marketing. Come on. Instagram went with Threads. Nobody really uses Threads anymore. Do we get the Lita? Yeah, the ladies in tech. It's a very good logo. They've tried to map out Africa and show the connections there. It's important. Let's continue. Logo design best practices include communicating your brand personality, incorporating your brand's color palette, like looking at the organization that we are all attached to, Ladies in Tech Africa. There's pink, there's Africa, and there's the web in Africa to show that everybody is connected through the internet, right? Incorporating your brand color palette, pink because we're focusing on women, we know that. Creating balance, embracing white space, that's always important. Adding repetitive patterns, high contrast, highlighting a dominant focal point, establishing a hierarchy to guide your viewer through the design. So these are the best practices. You can take a picture of it, screenshot it, it will still come, but these are the best practices. If we dissect the logo for the Ladies in Tech Africa Bootcamp, you can see that whoever designed it kind of followed all the best practices. They communicated the brand personality. It's women focused. So the brand color palette was pink and like gray, but pink is the bold one. Creating balance. The pink isn't so high tone that it doesn't really work. Embracing white space. There's a lot of white space. They use the netting in Africa to fix out and create the white space. Repetitive patterns. I won't say there's repetitive patterns in this one. Using contrast, pink and white is a very good contrast. Highlighting the dominant focal points. There are dominant focal points right there is tech, because they want to teach people tech, right? And then establishing a hierarchy. So ladies at the top, tech coming down, Africa at the side, but Africa at the bottom as well. We've done a quick dissection of a logo, right? What's next? Build your brand strategy and goals. Now that you know more about your audience, you have to plan in place too. You have to put a plan in place to ensure brand compliance. Your brand strategy will guide the evolution of your visual brand. Brand strategy should be tailored to each medium of communication. So take this. If you're working with your designers, UI, UX, whoever they are, they still need to come and refer to you, the content creator, the brand manager, the marketer. You have to guide them, right? Including social media, email marketing, website PR, offline media, advertising, and internal communications. But all of your content will match in look and feel and tone. Wherever you're putting them, they have to match, right? Working to better represent your mission, values, and personality. Personality is key. I will bring this one out. Personality is key in creating a brand. A consistent brand image affects the customer's perception of your brand and significantly impacts purchasing decisions. In a study on millennial consumers, brand image and brand trust were found to have a vital impact on consumers' purchasing decisions. Additionally, the study found that brand experience positively influences brand image and attachment. In short, a strong brand builds trust and increases the likelihood that someone will follow your brand and buy from you. If somebody trusts your brand, they will buy from you. We don't just give our money to anybody. We learned that to give somebody your money, you first start with meeting them face to face. But with the way the internet is now, we have to follow brands because we believe in what they're doing, right? Let's continue. Track your brand's impact with brand management tools. This is a very key one. A brand is only as strong as its organization and overall management. Brand management is how you measure, analyze, and influence your audience's view of your brand identity. Streamline your assets across departments. When you streamline your assets with a brand kit, your sales and marketing teams will always use collateral that reflects your brand identity. Whether you're a small business, a freelancer, a growing startup, as your team or client list grows, using brand kits will help you manage your brand assets and stay organized. I think there should be examples. Yes, examples of very good brand kits to use. Managing changing brand guidelines at scale. On Canva, your brand kit is accessible and adjustable as you update your brand identity. Then when your team is designing, they can easily select the correct colors, fonts, logos, because they will build right into your design platform. Accelerates brand growth. So Canva is a very good way to streamline your creative process. To accelerate brand growth, the more accessible your brand management tools are, the faster you can put together press kits, pitches, project proposals, newsletters, merchandise, and everything else you need to go. Like I said, a good example is Canva, because when you use Canva, you can save designs, you can save images, you can save fonts, you can save your company colors. You can take it from somewhere else, put it in, and like identify the colors. Canva is very useful for brand management. Once you develop your brand vision and brand values, you can begin to strategically craft a brand identity, brand guidelines, and brand templates that speak to your audience. Creating a memorable brand identity is a journey. So listen to your followers and be prepared to adapt. And with that, it's time for questions. Once again, thank you so much, guys. You guys are the best. We've come to our question and answer section. This is where you guys now. Anywhere that I lost you, put it down now. Put it down now. Let's get the questions out. Let me answer your questions and let's call it a night. Where the time has gone. Whew. That was a long one again. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. I wouldn't be here if you guys did not, come to class. I can't teach if I am not, if you guys aren't here, right? So there's really no point being here if I wasn't teaching you guys. Thank you. I hope everybody understands. Yes, you guys are awesome. Keep studying, keep writing. But remember that the world is changing. AI is there, so you have to learn to differentiate yourself. That's why some of the topics here, we didn't just stop at, writing. What's the difference between brand voice and brand tone? Brand voice is, okay, let's talk about this. What's the difference between brand voice and brand tone? Your brand voice is, how did I explain this thing again? It's the personality your brand takes on. The way you talk, the way you interact with your fans, your audience, is how your brand voice will be portrayed. Remember when I said Duolingo, it will sound like Trevor Noah? That's important. And Duolingo's brand voice is consistent. It is very nagging. It is very intense, but it can also be shy and a little, or awkward. But tone is now, remember we've talked about the different types of writing tones. You can be uplifting, you can be straight to the point, you can be informative, you can be assertive. So whatever your brand voice is, it will match up with your tone. There's a good bit of overlap between the two. I hope that answers your question. Praise. Can you please explain the build your brand strategy and goal? Okay, let's go back there. Build your brand strategy. Now that you know your audience and you have a plan in place to ensure brand compliance, your brand strategy will guide the evolution of your visual brand. Brand strategy should be tailored to each medium of communication, including social media, email marketing, website, PR, Magana, whatever. But all of your content will match in look and feel and tone. Duolingo as a good example. We've explained that Duolingo is kind of persistent, kind of awkward. So that's the general vibes that you get off of, brand voice vibes, right? If you keep that in mind, you can always latch the two. Brand voice is vibes. Now, when you have the vibe down, when you have the vibe down, you can better explain your mission and personality and flow the right way. So your strategy should be building a consistent brand, customers' perception of you. It significantly impacts purchasing goals. So your brand strategy should be making your brand trustworthy. And then the goal, again, in the end, depends on your mission, your vision, right? If your mission is to make money, then your goal would be to put prices in a way that will get a lot of people to buy your products. And then your brand voice will be kind of greedy, could be kind of snarky, could have a bit of a temper because you're trying to make money. These things, the brand voice always applies. It also applies to creating a character. When you're creating a character, you want to imbue them with different personalities. So you can use what you've learned in branding and create a brand, because there's no way anybody will attach to a character if there isn't a specific brand they follow, right? I hope I've answered your question. And if I haven't, put it back. I'll come again. Can you explain the part of analyzing your audience? Okay, so in analyzing your audience, what we mean is you need to figure out what they want. You need to figure out what they like. You need to look at this part here. Look at the demographic profile. Like, is it men or women? Their pain points, their challenges. That's why you see big companies going into social justice most of the time, especially when they want a black audience. They look at the pain points of their audience. Let's take Nike, and when it stood up with Colin Kaepernick, that is the guy. Colin Kaepernick, he knelt down during the national anthem. He was standing against racism, and Nike knows that the urban and black community is really behind them. If they turn their back against Colin Kaepernick, it would be, they just lose a strong customer base. So they knew, because of what their mission, their vision is, and because of they know who their audience is, they had to back him. Even if the higher ups in the company were a bunch of racists, for the mere fact that they are in the business of making money, they can't alienate their audience. So they're like, just back Colin Kaepernick and say no to racism, even if they don't mean it. But they had to, right? And that's why I say your audience kind of dictates what you do for a very long time until you go through a rebranding. I hope that answers your question. We have a lot more questions to ask. What is the difference between brand image and branding? Brand image is the visuals that people see. It's the parts that are tied to your brand identity, what people see on the outside, right? And branding is the process. It's a verb. So it's what we are actively doing to put our brand out there. What campaigns are we taking on? What adverts are we going on? What kind of content are we putting out? That's branding. Branding and merchandising go hand in hand. What are we doing about what we are going and where we are going to? That's branding. Where are we going? How do we want to get there? And what are we expecting to see when we get to the end? Let's continue. Brand image and branding. Sorry, you got lost. Okay, so like I just said, I hope I've already answered, but I'll go over it again. Brand image, right? Brand image is the everything that people see on the outside. The brand identity for Arya Star is the short skirt. The image is the person as a whole, right? Every visual piece that you show is the brand identity, and the images are what garnish on top of it, right? So the brand identity would be Gen Z. And what is an image of Gen Z? It's short skirts, right? And then I start takes it to the extreme so that you'll be able to see it. Most of the time, if things aren't taken to the extreme, you won't be able to see what they really are. It happens like that, right? So then branding is the whole process along with that. How are we marketing this? What campaigns are we going on? Branding is the verb, right? That you act. What are we actively doing to promote the brand? What shows, what interviews is Arya Star going on? What tours? Where is she performing? How are we marketing the music? Where is it trending on TikTok? Who are the people that are listening on TikTok, right? It's marketing and branding. It's the whole shtick together. I lost close to the end. Didn't really explain the last 2 points. I think I've already explained brand strategy and brand goals. I hope you guys understand that part. Because to go back again, it's a lot, but we'll just quickly go over it again. The last 2 parts, we've talked about colors, we've talked about logos, brand strategy and goal. Think of your brand strategy as your plan to get to where you're going. Remember, I just talked about branding and I've explained like where are we going, where are we going, how do we want to get there, what do we expect to see when we get to the end, right? That is the plan, right? And your strategy is what you do inside of all those plans. Where are we going to, right? We want to get to Lagos. What is our strategy to get to Lagos? So how are we going to go there? Are we going to take a plane? Are we going to... I hope I'm not confusing you. Busola Shono. Oh, wait. That name seems very familiar, I think. But let me continue, right? So your brand... What else? Yes. So how are we going to get there? That's an important part of the strategy. So how are we going to pay for the plane? I've said, where are we going to? We're going to Lagos. How are we going to get there? Well, let's take a plane. How are we going to pay for it? let's start a business and sell clothes. Okay, so where are we going to sell? That whole thing, the whole brand strategy is every question you ask yourself in the middle of every point of your plan until you get to the end. And the end is the goal, right? So whenever you're doing your strategy together, whenever you want to win a game of football, your tactics are your strategy. And then the end goal is winning the game. So in the middle, you have to, pick and choose what strategies you use. Where do we put the ball? Where do we go to? Blah, blah, blah. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Please throw more light on embracing white space as regards to logo design. Embracing white space is a kind of normal part for your brand design. It helps you to identify white space is very important because it makes things not cluttered. It makes you have access to, I'm losing my train of thought. White space. White space is important because it doesn't let your design look cluttered. It doesn't allow for there to be color riots. If you start mismatching orange, green, and red, all of those colors, it will cause havoc. So what you do is you pick one color, you match it up with white. That usually works. Then you can add another color. But if it looks like it's covering too much of the white, you go back and you figure out how best to figure out your coloring space, because there must be white. Because most of the time you're going on plain backgrounds, right? So you want white to be at the forefront. What's the difference between brand image and brand identity? And I might have a brand voice and brand tone before starting. Yes, have a brand voice and a brand tone before starting. How do you want your brand to sound? Use an example. I hope you guys can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Because it has started raining where I am. So I hope everybody can hear me. Yeah, so as I was saying, brand voice. Take an example. How do I want to be seen, right? How do I want people to take an example of for your brand voice? What would I say in this kind of situation, depending on how I want my brand to sound? If you know your 4 adjectives to describe your brand, like Coty, let me use Coty as an example again. Coty is honest, authentic, Gen Z, and what was the other one? I've forgotten the other one. Anyways, just use those 3, right? So what would be the most honest, authentic, and Gen Z way to answer if somebody says, hey, I don't like your content? The most obvious way to that is, I see that you don't like my content. I can understand my content is not for everybody, but I hope you keep watching because you might find something you like. That's your brand voice. And then the tone, because you are honest and authentic, you're not going to immediately go after the person and say, hey, if you don't like my content, that's your business. Get out of my face. That's Burna Boy. That's not Coty, right? Burna Boy has authenticity to him, but there's also pride and bragado and all of that. So are we understanding? Quite an interesting class with different. Branding is the active process. Brand image is what they can see. For those of us that are asking, constantly what is the difference between brand image and, branding. Branding is the process of, putting your brand out there. Brand image is the content that people see. Oh, wow. At the beginning, you said we should throw many things at the wall, see what sticks, and do what people like. But what if what people like is not what you want to create? Then you shouldn't have thrown it out there in the first place. The moment you put it out there for the public, if they like it, you just have to kind of go with it, or you don't create content altogether. I'm having that problem right now, like trying to create what I like and like what people like, and I know what people like, but it's hard for me to create. So I'm like in a pause because I'm fighting it. Eventually, I'm just going to cave in and do what people like. Remember what I said. For you to disrupt the industry, you must go inside that industry, see what it's like, and then find your opportunities and inefficiencies within that industry. That's how you can create dominance there and then cut your own niche out. I'm a 300 level student. I'm about to take a course this semester, an adverts and copywriting. I'm so grateful I'm taking this course here. It's adding on my knowledge. I'm happy for you. What course are you studying? that you're a 300 level student and you're taking a course this semester on advert and copyright. Are you in a marketing class in university? That's good. Can you oh God, we see we're going to have to redo this class on branding again for the last time. Branding is the active part of doing and creating the brand. How are we going to get this brand out there? What campaigns are we doing? How are we marketing it, right? And then brand image is the content that you put out there that you want people to see. That's the simple part. And then brand identity is wrapping brand image and branding all together. Okay, guys. There is absolutely no more time for questions. I have tried. I have really tried today, and I have really enjoyed teaching you guys again. It has been wonderful, but I am tired. I'm very tired. But like I said, you guys are awesome. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. Remember to go to your Canvas. That's where you get your assignments, your questions. Remember to sign attendance. You guys are the best. We are almost done. Remember to sign attendance, make sure that you go through everything as needs be. Take attendance. The attendance link is up there in the description. Once again, thank you so much. You guys are the best. It's always so much fun talking to you guys. There was somebody I saw here, Busola Shonowo. I'm not supposed to do this, so I'm not going to do that again. Sorry, but the name sounds so familiar anyway. But like I said, it's good to have you guys. You guys are really good. Please, thank you. I need a good night's rest. I still have a lot more to do today. I have so much other things to do. I don't know when I'm going to go to sleep. Anyway, move to spoken poetry. Yes, but like I said, thank you so much, guys. You guys are the best. You guys are so wonderful. I'm so happy to be teaching you. It's a great opportunity to do this. I'm having so much fun doing this, even though it's very draining. I'm very tiresome, but like I said, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. So thank you guys so much. You guys are the best. Thank you for listening. And I think we can call it a night, right? I think we've done so much. Can I see your brand logo? For Ugochi, I am going to find a way to attach my brand logo at the end, just for my blog, so that you guys can see it. It's football, so you can know. Having a great night's rest. Thank you, Kende. I've enjoyed teaching you guys so much. I will come tomorrow with my brand logo. You guys are just incredible. Thank you. Let's call it a night. All right, bye-bye, guys. Have fun. Enjoy your day. We see you on Thursday, right? We see you here on Thursday. Same time, same place. All right, bye-bye.